last year, we have seen Austin drop from one of the top places to live in the country all the way down to the top 40th city to live in the US. Housing inventory has skyrocketed. It went from just under 3,000 homes on the market all the way to 12,000 homes on the market. Several of the large IT companies that live in Austin have either laid off employees or entered into hiring freezes, and the city is changing all around. I wanted to make this a very honest, very straightforward video with you about the reasons why people are leaving Austin and why I think it might be losing popularity. So if you're curious to see why people are leaving Austin, keep watching. I'm Daphne Quay, your boss lady realtor here in Austin, Texas, and I work with people from all over the world and all over the country that either want to buy a home here in Austin or are thinking about selling their home here in Austin. If you are thinking about making a move or selling a home, please contact me. My contact information is in the description below, and you can also set up a direct one-on-one Zoom call with moi. Also, through a link in the description below. One of the things that I think is starting to make Austin less attractive as time goes is just the fact that there's so much traffic. I think if you come from a city like Los Angeles, for instance, or even New York, or maybe some other big congested cities, it might not seem like Austin has a lot of traffic, but for somebody that's been here for about 13 years and I saw what a small town it used to be, it feels like the increase in traffic has been immense. Austin was never really meant to be a big city. It was always supposed to be kind of this cute little quirky town. And with all the people coming here, we really just don't have the infrastructure to support all of the movement that's going. There is a lot of construction throughout town though to try to expand the roads and make new ways for people to get around, but it doesn't fix the issue. I think a lot of times people come here, for instance, from California, where they're used to commuting 45 minutes to an hour to work. But here, you might only be commuting 25, 30 minutes, but a lot of the times during the summer, it's really, really hot, and obviously your car is gonna have AC, but it's not a very comfortable trip a lot of the times. So just something to keep in mind, our traffic is pretty bad, especially compared to what it used to be. Number 2, our summers are getting progressively hotter and more awful, it seems like every year. Summer of 2023 absolutely sucked, and I'm not exaggerating. There were so many days that broke the 100-degree mark, and it's really difficult to cool off if you're outdoors because it starts getting hot at around 8 o'clock in the morning, and because it's so freaking hot throughout the entire day, it seems like everything, like the buildings, the streets, the sidewalks, all that absorb the heat, and then it stays hot through the night even when the sun is down. And then by the time the sun rises again, the cycle starts over and over. It's really uncomfortable. I've heard a lot of people say that, the moment you step outside, you start sweating, which is true. It's this really intense heat that is suffocating, and I would say sometimes exhausting. Though we do have fantastic weather from, I'd say, mid-October through end of May. The other months that we have that are hot are pretty unbearable. Personally, my boyfriend and I were both fed up with the heat. We traveled a ton this summer to get away from it. We went to Argentina for a week. We went to Peru to visit my family for 2 weeks. Then we ended up going to Iceland, very random, for like 10 days. And when we came back, it was still hot. And we were like, oh my God, how are we going to escape this? It was just terrible, terrible. Do not like. Number 3, along with, I guess, traffic, there are also, it feels like, too many people sometimes. I said earlier in the video that Austin was designed to be a small town, and it was intentionally designed to only hold a certain amount of people. I don't know what that amount of people is, but the folks that designed Austin really didn't want it to be a big town. They didn't want there to be a big population, and they didn't necessarily expect that there would be a huge boom the way that there is. So now, between the traffic congestion and then just the sheer quantity of people, it's feeling a bit crowded. And again, if you're coming from a very crowded city already, it probably won't feel as crowded, but for someone who has been here for a long time, and again, I saw what Austin used to be and how easy it was to move around and go to places, it's become very frustrating. I have clients that moved here even from parts of California 3 or 4 years ago, and they've seen the change. For instance, my boyfriend and I will go to the gym, and even like the gym rush hour lasts for like 3 or 4 hours. There's a lot of times nowhere to park in the gym parking lot.
This is the worst.
If you want to get a reservation at a cool restaurant, sometimes you have to wait for a couple weeks to get in. Most of the trendy restaurants, you need a reservation. It's not likely that you can just walk in and get a table, but having to plan every time that you go out, I think, can get a little bit wearing. The city of Austin, as well as surrounding neighborhoods, have also gotten a lot more expensive over the last 3 years. I have clients that bought homes in 2020, 21, and even in 2022. Not only were they paying top dollar for a home during the rush, but also in 22 and in 2023, property taxes literally doubled. And in Texas, we have something called a homestead exemption, which if you have one on your home, if you put one on your home, it will prevent your property taxes from going up more than 10% each year. However, a lot of people did not and still do not have a homestead exemption on their home. So your taxes can go up a lot, infinitely. I have a client who called me and he was kind of frantic. He has a family of 4. His mortgage went up by $800 because the property taxes went up. I personally have an investment home that was cash flowing pretty well up until this year because the mortgage went up by $1,100. So along with high prices, we also have high property taxes. I have a feeling that the city of Austin, this includes Williamson County, Hayes County, and Williamson County, are likely going to give us a bit of a break with taxes. There's different ideas on what they're going to do, but there's no way that this can continue because owning homes and even renting, I'm hearing, has become very, very expensive. Quick story, when I first got my real estate license in 2012, I was out for a walk one evening in this adorable neighborhood that I absolutely love, called Travis Heights. It's kind of in the South Congress area. I've done a bunch of videos about Travis Heights in the past, so if you want to go check those out, go check them out. Anyway, I walked by this really adorable little brick front home that was so charming. And I was on the phone with my mom and I told her, wow, I would love it if you could buy a house here. This is so cool. The homes here are so much less expensive than Minneapolis, where she was living. In that time, to live in the middle of town and to have this kind of historic home that's close to everything, a home like that would have been about $300,000 to about $450,000. Today, that same exact home would very easily sell for $1 to $1.3 million. To give you an idea of what our pricing situation and what a real estate market is doing. Reason number 5 as to why people are leaving Austin. I think this kind of is interchangeable with traffic, but a lot of times it does feel like it takes a long time to get to different places depending on where you live. I have a lot of clients that want to live in the suburbs for ease of life, affordability, as well as living in a neighborhood that has highly rated schools. And they do say that if they want to go to central Austin to go out or go to dinner or go for a walk around the lakes and stuff like that, it takes a while. It can take 35, 45 minutes to get there, which isn't the end of the world. But for convenience sake, sometimes it does feel like it takes a while to get to a lot of places. On the flip side of that though, I know we're talking about the negatives, but I will say this, I have a lot of clients that live in central Austin. And if you are in the central area, it's not typically walkable, but you can drive pretty much anywhere in 15 minutes or less. So that portion of it is actually really, really positive. One thing though that I do think is really important to point out, if you're coming from like the Bay Area or even New York or New Jersey or Boston, somewhere with great public transportation. We have no public transportation in Austin. I mean, we do, but it's just not, it's not well run and it takes forever. And I've heard that it's not super safe. We do have the Metro Rail, which I guess is kind of like a light rail, but it only runs one route and it's got kind of weird hours, so it's not super popular. Reason number 6 for people leaving Austin. This one's kind of a sad one. So we know that interest rates, of course, are going up, and that makes it a lot more expensive, not just for home buyers to buy homes, but also for businesses to borrow money. So they are growing at the same pace that they were in 2020, 2021, and even 2022. I know several people that work at Meta and Facebook, or whatever it's called these days, and they've done several rounds of layoffs in the last year alone. There was also a lot of buzz about Google laying off hundreds of recruiters in Austin. Obviously, that means they're not hiring new talent, they're not looking to bring anybody on, so I think that's pretty telling of the job market. There are a lot of IT companies that are still hiring, it's just a lot slower than it has been in the last few years. If you've been watching my channel, you've probably been doing some homework about Austin, and you've probably learned about some really popular spots, for instance, the South Congress area. is super, super popular. And it used to be really quirky and colorful and just this one-of-a-kind little magical pocket in Austin where you could go listen to live music, get some tacos, grab a drink, get some ice cream, and just like have a really fun time. And you could definitely still have a fun time there. It's just changed significantly. One of the biggest sore spots in 2023 in the South Congress area was when Lucy in Disguise closed. Lucy in Disguise was this really big costume and I would say like paraphernalia shop that was open for 38 years right there in the middle of South Congress. It was grimy, it was grungy, it was quirky, but it was really fun and it was open year round. They sold costumes and all sorts of silly things for all sorts of different occasions. I think part of it was kind of like a thrift store, but then they had new things too. You could even rent costumes and wigs. It was a full array quirky mess that people absolutely adored. But of course, with property values going up, property taxes going up, and just that area changing so much, they weren't able to keep up. And unfortunately, they had to close in mid-2023.
That's how the store opened back on April Fool's 1984.
This is really sad for a lot of us that have been to Lucy in Disguise or have been in Austin for a long time because the whole South Congress area has changed so much. One of the restaurants that is still there in South Congress area that is thriving is Guero's Mexican Restaurant. That place has been there forever and they continue to do business. People love it there. It's super casual. Food is pretty decent, they have good drinks, and it's in the middle of everything. Another item in the South Congress area that I think is cool, but also telling of the area is Music Lane. It's a small commercial development with different stores. They have Ray-Ban in there, they have a shoe store in there, there's some like boutique style places, and then there is a restaurant called Abba, which is primarily Mediterranean food. It's all beautiful, and it's really cool and clean and trendy, but it doesn't hold true to what that South Congress area really used to be. So I'm a fan of growth, I'm a fan of development. I, along with I think a lot of other people, wish that we would have held on to more of the culture and the things that made Austin, Austin. Okay guys, so we've made it to the end of the video. If you are not depressed by watching this, please leave a comment. My goal was definitely not to be super negative. I just really wanted to share some of the truths that I don't think necessarily enough people talk about. And I am seeing people leave the city for a lot of these reasons. Austin is still a really great place to live. There are a lot of positives still about this town, which is why so many people continue to stay here. So if you guys have more thoughts, ideas, questions, please leave a comment. Please keep it respectful in the comment section. I really try to respond to every single comment that I can. Anyway, that's it for now. I'm Daphne Quay, your boss lady realtor. Till next time.